ladies, Dr. Hollen Meyer here, and thanks for joining along this adventure as we empower women in the month of January. Now guys, don't worry, in March we're going to be raining men just for you. But for right now, we're empowering women in the month of January so we can help support the Women of Iron event. The Women of Iron event is designed for female entrepreneurs that want to gain crystal clear clarity, regain and expand their power and stop leaking that out, and acquire the tools so that they can expand their impact in their community and in their life. So if you want more information on the Women of Iron event, click the link below. We have events going on mid and end of January in Victoria, BC and in Austin, Texas. Thanks for joining us and get ready for another amazing interview. Welcome back for another interview for Empowering Women. I'm Dr. Hollen Meyer, along with my guest, Ginny Estrada. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thanks for inviting me, Hollen.
You bet, you bet. Now, this is going to be interesting because we don't know each other on a personal level, and I've been part of your wellness community on Facebook. So this is really our first interaction, so this is going to be a blast. Now, before we jump into things, let me give you a little bit of an introduction. Now, Ginny has a passion for teaching and being an educator. She's a homeschool mama of 4, and she loves pouring into her kids. And with her passion for teaching, she's also very intentional to educate and enlighten others on the importance of a toxin-free lifestyle. Now, Ginny, I've learned so much from you, which is why I'm honored to interview you today. And as we jump into empowering women, Ginny's genius, you should title a podcast that or something. Ginny's genius it's in teaching us how to detox our beauty routine. Now, I've learned a lot from you already, and I'll be sure to post the link in the comments for that wellness community. It's called What's on the Inside. But Ginny, if you'll kind of fill in the gaps and tell us a little bit more about you as a person and how you came to have such a passion for educating us on detoxing our beauty routine.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my toxin-free journey really began at motherhood. It's funny because people who follow along in my wellness community love what they learn in that space, and I think sometimes assume that I've always known all the things that I know. So if you're kind of at the beginning of your journey, I hope you take that as encouragement. Like, you don't have to have grown up knowing all these things. So my journey kind of started at the beginning of motherhood. I do have 4 young kids. I love homeschooling them. I'm home with them full time. But in my former life, before being a mom, I actually was an educator. So I taught elementary music for several years and loved that career. Never intended to walk away, never intended to stay home. But the opportunity presented itself and we stepped into it. And then after having my first, I started having some health issues, and I went the traditional route with doctors and testing and another doctor and just never really got a solution. Even ended up having a colonoscopy at the age of 28, and all for them to say it was an acute problem and that I need to be on medication for the rest of my life. And even though I didn't adopt or know about living a healthier lifestyle at that time or alternative options, herbs and things like that, I knew that would not be the best thing for my liver. And also, we honestly couldn't afford it because we chose to live on a tight budget being a stay-at-home mom. So that really was what was used to launch me into having an open mind to exploring some other options. And so I saw a massage therapist who did wonders for me. I started taking turmeric and that was amazing. And that was just the beginning of my journey in little tiny steps. And one thing led to another. And then I had time to read about these toxins I was cleaning my home with while I was home all the time with my babies. And I had read that makes such a big impact. And so it was really just one small step at a time, stepping into being open to living healthier and more toxin-free. And so along the way, my beauty routine was one of the last things I thought about. It was one of the last things I transitioned. And to be completely raw and transparent with you, Hollen, I will tell you, I didn't want to know. I didn't look for a long time because I didn't want to know. Like, I had dark circles. And so at the end of the day, when you're a tired mom and when you keep having babies and you have 4 of them, you have dark circles under your eyes and you just want the pretty lashes and you want your makeup to wear well. And so when one of my girlfriends came to me and it said, "Hey, I know that you've made a lot of changes. Have you ever thought about your makeup bag?" I was just like, la 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 la. I don't know
Yeah.
if you can relate to this at all, but I wanted to run the other direction. So I have found I have found a lot of women can really relate to my story because they were one and the same. Either they had absolutely no idea or they kind of don't want to know, because that's one of our joys is putting on our face and walking out the door feeling more confident. But the truth is, you guys, is that the US FDA does not regulate the cosmetic industry. They haven't updated laws in the past 80 years. And so it is just rampant with so many toxins of concern. So I don't know how deep you want me to go, but that is kind of the beginning of my story and my journey.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that with us. And I can relate to that too, you know? And makeup was probably one of the last things I wanted to dive into just because I knew there was so much crap in it. Like I knew. And I didn't want to not wear any, you know?
Yes.
And now, I mean, fast forwarding, and I'm sure you could say the same, fast forwarding on the other side of things, getting things all cleaned up and detoxed and getting your makeup clean. Like we don't have to wear as much to look as confident, you know?
Right.
But I want to kind of back it up a little bit because in regards to your expertise, because this is going to be interesting, okay? Because I'm the type of gal who I don't spend a whole lot of time on a beauty routine. Like to me, that already sounds like a lot of work, number one.
Routine.
Yes. And to be honest, I try to just maybe do some coconut oil, and I have a good brand of makeup, right? So, and that's kind of it. What do you find are some of the struggles that most women have, even diving into this or whenever they get started with this? What are some of the struggles that a lot of women have?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll share mine because it's what I have found a lot of women struggle with too. Like once I became open to the idea of even like maybe considering looking what was in my makeup bag, then I just became overwhelmed because it's like these long impossible ingredient names, and it just all of a sudden felt really overwhelming and I felt lost. Like, how am I ever going to figure out, like you're looking at this impossibly long list and they all seem like a foreign language. And so just the ingredient list on its own overwhelmed me. It didn't seem as simple as figuring out food labels, and it's not, you guys. And so for a long time I just felt like I had to kind of go at it on my own. And then what I learned along the way is there's so many great resources out there, and that's what my group is for, is to have a resource. So that is one of the biggest things that I find. The other thing, so it's either reading the labels and kind of understanding ingredients so that you can be your own advocate. But honestly, a lot of people don't have the time for that. So giving them a resource gives them that power. So that's a big piece of empowerment, pointing people where to go. And if you need help, that's what my group is for too. I love taking a look with people. So you can.
Yeah, and I can second that for you because even being in a crunchy lifestyle already, I have learned so much from your group, from the depth of information that you post. It's so great, to the community that gets involved. And then also, like, you are the point of contact and the expert in the group, and you have such value for that. So I just want to give you props on that group. It's awesome. Y'all check it out. It's called What's on the Inside on Facebook.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the other piece that I find is really the performance aspect. So, you know, if you've always been a light makeup wearer, this may not hit home with you, but if you are a makeup girl, I'm telling you that when you try to switch your makeup bag, it might feel like my journey did. And that was, I first switched to things that I thought were clean and I thought I was doing a great job, and I was okay paying a little bit more knowing I was making a healthier choice, you know, because those ingredients do absorb into your bloodstream. All to find out later, it's greenwashed. Greenwashing is something that a lot of people aren't aware of. It's when a company gives the consumer the impression that their products are safe. Terms are not regulated in this industry, like organic, non-toxic. So hypoallergenic, that's not a real defined term.
All natural.
Things like that. Yes, all natural. Oh my goodness. And so I had switched to a brand and I was feeling great about it. And then just to find out it's greenwashed, meaning, yeah, it has safer ingredients, but it's still not completely safe. There's still ingredients in there that are compromising my health. So then I went like crazy ingredient lady, like, okay. And then I was like stoked when I finally found some stuff, and it just sucked. Like my concealer would fade off during the day. The eyeshadows were not pigmented. And honestly, Hollen, I threw my hands up and I went back to my toxic stuff, and it was a struggle. So most people struggle with either reading the labels and the nitty gritty of ingredients, or struggling to find something that legit can go toe to toe with the toxin stuff that they're used to.
Yeah,
It's
the
a struggle.
quality of the makeup.
Yes. Yeah. The performance and wear. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So getting past that, can you share a few tips with us that kind of help women get over that? Or what products do you love, and how can we gain more confidence in the makeup that we choose, or in the routine that we choose? How can this translate into empowering women and gaining confidence in our makeup, not just what we're choosing to wear, but we know that then exudes our confidence in the space that we're in, as whether it's as a mom or as an entrepreneur or whatever that means.
Right. I mean, and for every person that will look different and individual,
Yeah.
but in my community, I do have a master list of all of the toxin-free products that I recommend, and it's an evolving list, and it does include many, many beauty products. It expands past that, shampoos, deodorants, cleaning products, and whatnot. But, a lot of times when women come to me, I say, what are your everyday products? That is what we need to work to try to transition and detox first, because they are having the biggest impact and making the biggest burden on your body. So if we can reduce your body burden by changing those things to healthier products. So that's where I always guide women to start, is what are your daily products? And then from there, I like to help and point them and take a look at the ingredients inside. So that's why my group is about what's on the inside. It's about inner beauty, what's inside of our hearts. It's also about what's inside of our products, what is in our products that goes inside of our body. So there's so many facets to it, but that's the next step, is just taking a conscious look at those ingredients. And one thing that I love to do is just walk with women alongside them wherever they are. Everyone has a different comfort level based on where you're at in your journey of, oh, I want everything to be a 1, or I'm okay with like 3 and above. And so just asking people where they're at in their journey and meeting them there, and just being a guide for them and helping them, just clarify what is often confusing. The other thing, so I do recommend, if you can, find ingredients that are not only safe, but can also nourish the skin. So also promoting wellness. And that is one thing about a brand and line that I highly recommend. I'm most confident in my makeup choices because they're very transparent with their ingredients. They're not just toxin-free across the board, but they also have ingredients in them that promote wellness from the inside out. And to be able to feel confident in the performance of my makeup, know that it's nourishing my skin. I've seen a huge transition in my skin in the past 2 years. And also getting to empower other women with that is just, I love what I do.
So are you able to share like what the brand you love?
I am, yeah. So Crunchy is the brand.
The anticipation has built so much. I'm like, are you going to share it? Are you allowed to? Tell us. So is the brand Crunchy?
Yes, the brand is Crunchy.
Well, the name is fitting. And one thing is I've been educated by you is because I use their face wash too. And like you said, not only does it not have the toxins in it, but more than that, it has ingredients that nourish the skin. So when people are switching over, you had mentioned like, what are your top makeup components that are important to you? And foundation's common, and eye makeup's common. You would recommend like choosing like some of your like big primary pieces of makeup to switch over first, or just do the whole thing?
It really depends on where people are at. Most people do switch with the products that are going all over their face, which is a great way to think about it. That was honestly going to be my plan if I did not partner with Crunchy, but I have partnered with Crunchy. And so I'm happy to help anyone who's interested or has more questions about it, or if you want to sample the line, definitely let me know. But that was kind of my game plan, was to start with the things that go all over my face and then transition other things as I ran out of them. Some people, once they have that knowledge, can't erase that from their mind or put those things on their skin anymore and have to do a whole overhaul. So it kind of depends on where you're at. I will say, here's a quick little story. So that was my plan, was just to switch like my primer, my foundation, and like my foundation brush to start toxin-free. And I used to skimp on my eyeshadow. Like I would invest good money in my foundation and mascara and things like that, but not spend much on eyeshadow. And that was honestly one of the last things I looked up in one of these apps. And you guys, it rates an 8 out of 10 for toxicity. And I was just like, eyeshadow, I felt like it's like fairy dust. Like, what could be so terrible in eyeshadow? Like, I was seriously like floored, had no clue. And it has formaldehyde releasers. And you guys, like, I did not throw away eyeshadow. Like, eyeshadow has like a 12-month expiration date, like shelf life. But I mean, who goes through eyeshadow in 12 months, right? So
I
mean, it's
probably
like,
have
oh my
eyeshadow in my bag right now from like years.
yeah. But I mean, it's a the biggest concern is in there is the preservative is a formaldehyde releaser, which means like not only does it release formaldehyde, which preserves dead bodies and is like a known carcinogen,
Yes.
going on the thinnest skin on my entire face, my eyelids. I actually bought the same palette since high school. You know, once you love colors, you stick with them.
Yep.
But then when you don't toss it when you're supposed to, then it's released more formaldehyde. I was just like, oh my gosh, I thought like this was so minimal, like not a big deal. And I was like, upset, you know, it really shows like there's so many changes that still need to happen. But once you have that knowledge, then you have the power to make that change and you can be your own advocate. And that's what I love about the community that I've created.
I love it. And I learned something today too. I need to toss those eyeshadows that I've just held on to. Like I have zero intention to actually use them except for like certain occasions, you know, like there's some like dark ones that I don't wear a whole lot of dark makeup unless it's like a special occasion and I get them out and I'm like, I'm poisoning myself. So after this interview, I'm going to go toss those right away. So
no judgment here. I get it. But you know, and like I said, everyone's at a different place in their journey, but I just learned for me, like it's just not worth it to have that variety of a palette to give myself that. And there's so many other things too. Most mineral makeup is contaminated with heavy metals. Crunchy's really unique in that they're not, you know, they're starting third-party testing.
Whenever we see like mineral makeup, a lot of times we think, oh, that's the healthy kind. We don't, without looking any deeper besides, you know, just the brand or whatever. And you're saying that it can be loaded with heavy metals.
Yeah, most are. If you don't see an EcoCert certification, that just verifies the purity of the minerals. That certification is actually a European certification. It's international. So you'll see that with Crunchy's, you know, mineral products, the eyeshadows and whatnot that give that beautiful pigmentation. There's also a lot of dirty things in the cosmetic industry people don't realize. Mica is what gives makeup that pretty shimmer. And that is a big area of childhood labor in other countries. So Crunchy is also very conscious of how we source our ingredients so that we're not supporting child labor, so that we're not using minerals that are contaminated with heavy metals. Like they're conscious on so many levels. They're conscious in how they package. Most things come in glass or paperboard, aluminum. Like they are so ahead of the curve. There's so many reasons to love what they're doing. And it was started by 2 moms, debt-free. Like, love it.
I love that. And I've learned so much. And like you had mentioned before, like knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
But what I love about what you have done, what really attracted me to you is after I then researched your research, you know, then I realized like this woman like knows what she's doing and she's heard the depth of what you're doing and the depth of what Crunchy is doing. It's a very trusted source. So I just want to encourage y'all to join her group and learn more. Even if you don't do Crunchy, like the makeup line she's talking about right away, if it's not for that purposes, like she said, she does all kinds of things from cleaning stuff and food, and it's just really, really valuable, which is the reason why I wanted to have you on today. So thank you so much for giving that value today, but also continuously in your community. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, and it's also, I think another great thing just for people to know, it's a safe place to ask questions. I know for me, when I started on this journey, I felt kind of like an idiot. I felt like I was behind the curve and I had no clue that there are other people who also were looking for the same things. And that is also a piece of this community. So it's also a safe place to ask questions. It's only women in the space right now. So it's just for women. And we've talked about menstrual cycles. Come February, we're talking about Valentine things, so that are all safe and toxin-free, which are important. So it's a safe space in that way too, to learn, but also ask questions and not feel judged or silly.
Yeah, so all things female, you know, all the things we do. I think that's really, really neat. And I've only been in the group for maybe a couple months, but I've been so impressed and I'm glad to have you on here. And even with my story is I've been pretty natural minded for quite some time, but now that I have a baby on the way, like I'm like re-looking at things. And whenever I looked into things at one point with my cleaning ingredients, now I'm looking into it all over again. I realize like they're greenwashed now. And I may or may not have kept up with certain products, you know? So I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I'll go and like search some of the previous discussions and find so much and even ask you questions directly. So you've been a great resource. Personally, you make yourself available for people. Now, as we wrap this interview up, what are some final thoughts or a quote or something that you want to empower women with today as we close?
You know, the one that kind of has stuck with me along the way my journey, it resonated in the beginning and it resonates even more now that I work with other women so closely, is one small step in the right direction could end up being the biggest step of your life. So, and it ends by saying, so tiptoe if you must, but take the step. And so many times girls will say, I'm going to make this one change. I know it's really small. And I'm like, don't ever discount small. Small is okay. And that compounds and builds. And that has just stuck with me. So tiptoe if you must, but take the step, start somewhere and do it. And then pat yourself on the back for taking that step.
I love that. I love that because so often we feel like we have to make this huge leap, right? And
Right.
I love don't discount yourself, and even if you have to tiptoe. Thank you so much for that encouragement, and thank you so much for educating us today. Before we go, how can people get in touch with you?
You know, the best way really is through social media. So finding me on Facebook, I would love to connect socially if you want to be friends or follow along. Being a part of my wellness community that's open to all the females, obviously what's on the inside. And I'm also happy to share my Crunchy link with anyone who wants me to help serve you in that way too.
Perfect. Well, thanks. Well, I'll be sure to post that link in the comments and in the show notes as well. And if you want to contact her, message her directly through social media as well. Ginny, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for your time and sharing all your knowledge with us.
Thanks for having me. I loved it, Hollen.
You bet. And thanks for each of you joining us as well. Stay classy, folks.